Hello everyone, welcome. And I read recently that the Buddha likened the Eightfold Path to a guest house that all people were invited to come and rest in the guest house. But the nature of the guest house as an Eightfold Path is that somehow it brought out the best in people, brought out the best in the person, who was wholesome. So here we sit, and when we meditate, we are a guest house where we invite everything. Not so much invite everything, but we are a guest house that welcomes everything that comes. We don't go looking for things, but if it comes, we welcome it here. And there's something about that welcome, that ability to be mindful in an open, generous way, without being for or against anything, inviting all people, all states of mind, all experiences, that transforms us into the best of ourselves and come forth. So the beginning of that is this ability to receive equanimously, openly, a certain kind of impartiality, or all our experience. And this ability to know, to be aware, to be receptive, without being for or against, without judging, without closing the door, is transformative. It brings out the best in us, eventually, not immediately. So taking a comfortable, alert posture, and lowering your gaze, relaxing your gaze, and if it's comfortable, gently closing your eyelids. And then lower yourself into your body. Feel the three-dimensional body that you are, the fullness, the global body sitting here. Your legs, your torso, your arms, your head. Make room for it to relax, to settle in. The more the tension in the body, the less we are an open, welcoming guest house. The more we operate from our preferences and our fears and our desires and our aversions. The more relaxed we are, the more we become a guest house for all things. And to help that process in a leisurely way, like you have all the time in the world, breathe as deeply as is comfortable for you. Breathe in deeply in the top of the in-breath. Hold the breath for a moment, just long enough that you feel the gentle urge to exhale. And give in to that urge to exhale. Breathe in deeply, exhale fully. At the end of the exhale, pause for a moment. a fraction of a moment, until you feel the body's urge to inhale. And when you do, allow for that to happen. Breathing in, breathing out. And as you exhale, relax the body more. Relaxation, together with alertness, with clarity of attention, is profound. And letting your breathing return to normal. On the exhale, relax the muscles of the face, the forehead, around the eyes, temple, the nose and the cheek, the jaws and the lips, As you exhale, relax the shoulders, the area around the shoulder blades, and also soften the belly. And then, instead of inviting the body breathing, inviting it to awareness, welcome it when it comes. When the inhale comes, a simple welcoming awareness, a guest house that receives the experience, as if it comes out in from the cold or from being away. Welcome it into the guest house of awareness without any prejudice or judgments about what's there. And the exhale, when it occurs, welcome it, allow it to exhale. And if anything takes you away from breathing, even if it's thinking, don't invite it. But when it occurs, have a welcoming attitude towards it. Not to indulge in it, but so it feels safe and there's space in awareness. Awareness is the guest house. That receives everything equally. Allowing each thing to be itself. And perhaps you'll see as you do that, it's simple, welcoming awareness. that the best in you begins to peek through. In the guest house, everything is welcomed and left alone to find its own way to where it can rest. near the end of this sitting, can you be the keeper of the guest house? Everything is welcomed, not so that you engage in it or do anything with it, but so you don't judge it or need it to be different, but clearly recognize what's here. And in the guest house, allow it to rest. It's a rest house for travelers. Welcome and allow them to take their rest. And as we come to the end of the sitting, is there anything that the metaphor of the guest house, being a guest house that is open to all things that come, welcoming, but also doesn't interfere with people's business, allows all beings to come and rest and be themselves without judgments and without wanting something from them? And can you become a guest house for the people you encounter today, or the experiences you have, or those you communicate with? They don't have to know that you're a guest house, but in your heart you welcome them as they are, so they can maybe have a little experience of being respected as they are, allowed to be as they are, where they don't have to be worried about your judgments, your needs, your desires, your aversions. That first and foremost, you're there to welcome them in your guest house of your presence, your awareness. And may it be on this day that your ability to hold all beings in your heart, with your heart as a guest house, that you support others to feel happier, you support others to feel safe, you support others to be peaceful, and you support others to be free. May we contribute to the happiness, safety, peace, and freedom of all beings everywhere. May all beings be happy and safe and peaceful and free. So, we continue today on the talks about mindfulness of mind. Also could be called mindfulness of attitude, or in the purity of it, the mindfulness of recognition. And that's the theme for this, from Tuesdays, is recognition. And recognition is a powerful factor. If it can be simple, if we can simplify our recognition of all the baggage, all the associations that it comes along with it. So for example, if you maybe look around wherever you are sitting, and can you find something to look at where you can recognize what it is, but that it's very neutral. This doesn't evoke any ideas of for and against, I want that, I don't want that. It's just there in a simple, very, very simple way. And so for my eyes now are landing over the far wall, there's an electrical cord to a clock. And I see the electrical cord, and it's just there. I don't have any reactivity to it or preference around it or for or against it. It's just there. And then if I turn my eyes up now and look at something that I find that I like, there's a statue, a Buddha statue on the other, near the electrical wire. And now I find that there's a kind of a liking and wondering and engagement with it, where it's not just recognizing it, but now there's appreciating, remembering the history, where it came from, who gave it to us, all kinds of things. And then I look down and there's some tape on the floor here at IMC. And I have a little bit of a issue about the tape on the floor because it's a long piece of tape to mark a spot on the floor, but it's crooked. It wasn't laid down straight. And so I think, should I change it? And can I use the same tape? Do I have to throw it away? And so suddenly my involvement is much more complicated. And I look at the electrical wire again, and it's just very simple, just a wire. So if you could look around in your space, and you could see the different ways that you can recognize something there, how simple can it be, just recognizing it, and how much does it start coming with preferences, coming with judgments, coming with for and against, coming with commentary. It's in meditation and other times, the movement is towards becoming cleaner and cleaner, simpler and simpler with recognition, so that we can see things as they are, not as we want them, or not through the lens of what we don't want there. There is a time, there's a place for preferences, for desires, for things we don't want. There's definitely a time and place for that. This is not doing away with that forever. But there's also a time and place to learn the art of very simple recognition. And so simple that the recognition is not distracted by our desires and our thoughts, our commentary. It's just we recognize so simple, just there. There's an in-breath. It's just an in-breath. And so simple that the in-breath isn't tied to, connected to notions of time. Oh, if I need to get concentrated, I need to stay here so that in the future I can be concentrated, so that so that I'm present for the next exhale, which is coming in the future. I lost my attention to the breath a few minutes ago, a moment ago, a few breaths ago. I can't have that happen again. I have to kind of be able to stay with the breath. All those ideas are complicating the simple act of recognition. For this moment, I'm able to recognize this inhale as if there's no before and no after. It's that simple. And if your mind wanders off in between, and at some point you come back to the next inhale, the past is gone. Just this inhale, just that recognition. And at some point, as the simplicity of recognition is there, just this breath, this step, this chewing my food, this sitting in a chair, this walking down a hallway, in the simplest possible way, then at some point, what we recognize is recognition itself. We recognize that recognition, as we're recognizing, we see that recognition is simple. We see that recognition is free of associations, commentary, preferences, desires. And then, wow, there's this thing called recognition. There's this thing, this experience, this movement of recognition, of knowing, of being aware. And it becomes its own kind of object of awareness. And it starts being kind of special. Wow. There's this clarity. There's this openness. It's kind of like awareness now becomes a guest house. That all travelers are welcome to come into the guest house. But the guest housekeeper is very gracious and allows everything to have its room, and so it can rest. So it can be left alone. So be accepted as it is. Nothing's needed, no judgments, no nothing. So this idea of recognizing recognition, aware of awareness, knowing that we're knowing, can seem like a hard thing to do, challenging, and even nonsensical to some people. But one of the ways we come to that is that we begin recognizing, as a guest keeper, welcome, we start recognizing that we are seldom aware simply. There's all kinds of things we bring along with the recognition. We recognize something, and we recognize that we don't like it. We do like it. We want it to be a little bit different. It should be sitting over there, not there. Can I have that? We go into a room of people, and we start recognizing what's there, but it's not just simple recognition. Is who is it nice to sit next to? Who should I not sit next to? Is it safe here? Where's the good snacks? And I think that's what I want. And so there's all these preferences and agendas going on and our awareness, our recognition is being used by our agenda. It's being driven by it. Now, of course, this is normal and healthy to do that in many circumstances. It has to be that way. But the meditation practice and mindfulness, one of the potential it has is to start recognizing how we complicate or engage awareness, use awareness in the service of our agendas, our preferences. And sometimes it's wise choices we make, what we pay attention to. When we're driving, pay attention to the road. But sometimes our attention is hijacked by things that we don't really, if you thought about it, you would say, I don't want to do that. Focus on that again. I've had the same complaint about my neighbor down the street. Now it's probably 1,000 times I've had that thought. And I feel lousy after I have it. It doesn't feel good to have it. And it kind of hijacks my attention. And whenever I drive down the street and see that neighbor or see that house, I get contracted in my attention. I feel my awareness looking and I pull away from the house. So all kinds of ways in which you see how awareness is being used and hijacked and influenced as it's being used. When we do that in mindfulness meditation, sitting in meditation, welcome it all. Don't add judgment on top of judgments, but there's an art to welcoming it, allowing it to be there, which is paradoxically a movement towards simplicity of recognition. When we're not for or against things, then it can just be itself, and there's room for us to recognize it as it actually is. And then, as I've said, this kind of very special time comes when we start recognizing recognition itself. In and of itself, the recognition is this jewel, is this amazing capacity. And this ability to recognize, or to be aware, or to know, depending on how that attentional faculty is showing itself at any given time, can become its own strong presence, its own strong kind of entity, or I don't know if the right language is, its own feeling of strength, its own territory. It feels like a guest house, feels like it has a room for things, and it's okay for things to arise. And, if the idea of welcoming is too much, just allow them to be there. Why do this? It seems like maybe then you're just victims of the circumstance, just things come and happen. Because when we can keep our attention very simple, just recognize the thing that's happening, including just recognizing how we complicate recognition, how I have desires and aversions. We just keep doing this simple recognition, being the guest house, allowing it to be there. Then the best in us begins to come forth. That which needs to rest, that which needs to relax, that which has a chance to relax. It's not being fed, it's not being egged on or encouraged on. And as the simplicity of recognition, of awareness starts happening, then it's almost like there's space then for us to hear ourselves. There's space to know ourselves in a deeper way. There's space to start recognizing that there is goodness here. There is wholesomeness here. There is space, begins to be cracks in our maybe our hearts, so that we can see where there's kindness and love and care, generosity, goodness that resides. The simplicity of recognition, the simplicity of awareness, is a key to recognizing our own inner beauty. Because we just welcome all the inner ugliness. It's okay. Come. I'm a guest house for all of you. And it's in the guest house, in the space it makes, in the allowing, that there is this welcome, this generosity, this goodness that allows something to settle and relax. And I suspect you'll be surprised by how much goodness exists within you through this simple act of recognition. So all along in mindfulness practice, we're practicing recognition of the breath, of the body, of emotions, of thoughts. And everything I've been teaching before still applies. But at some point, as we continue this practice, at some point, it's appropriate to start recognizing recognition itself, and recognizing that the way we are aware of breath, body, emotions, and thoughts is not neutral. It's not welcome. There's an agenda. There's complications we bring to it. And so this turning around and being mindful of the mind, mindfulness of awareness, of attitude, begins to free awareness from all this extra baggage, all this extra stuff that we add to it. And goodness has a chance to grow. So thank you. And may you, for this day, may you practice being a guest house for all things that come along. And maybe look for, remind yourself, look for particular appropriate places where try being receptive and welcoming instead of maybe the usual habits of mind of how to be with things. So, thank you. Thank you very much.